So we're going to be looking at background and figuring out how background works. And V's here just in time. So the first thing, just to Google MDN background, and then you come here and it says that background is shorthand for setting individual background values. So anytime you see shorthand, it means, oh, there's a whole bunch of other things in there that get crammed into background. And so background's a really cool property to work with, and it could do neat stuff. And so the different backgrounds we have are background clip. I'm thinking that might play a video clip. I don't know. Background color. Truthfully, I don't know. Background color. Background image. Background origin and position. Background repeat. Background size. And background attachment. So this is how I learn about stuff. MDN is pretty much the horse's mouth. And, I mean, when it comes to web programming, you want to get it from the horse's mouth. But when it comes to dinner, not a good place to get it, actually. So the first one I thought, well, let's take a look at background image. I think that's what I have up first. Oh, I did background color, even easier. So look at background color, right? And we could just specify background or background color. And background color is the background color of an element. Big surprise. And so I scroll down and, this gray box is easy to glance over because it looks pretty technical. Initial value is transparent. Applies to all elements. It also applies to first letter and first line, pseudo elements. So first letter, that's kind of cool. We could target the first letter and do some styling on that. And so just to show you first letter, right? How many people have seen first letter? It's kind of a cool deal. I don't know, that was the one from the other day. And so let's say I have a paragraph. It has some lorem. And I want to target the first letter of that paragraph, so I have style and layout. I'm just going to keep style on there. First letter, font size. I don't know, 16 is a rem, so 4 rem. And color, red. And let's see what that looks like. Kind of cool. So there's, you can also, I think there's a first line. I think P, first line. So you could say color, green. This is the site which is not good for people who are colorblind. And look at that. Isn't that neat? So that could be a really cool thing because you could style sort of, I don't know, like print the first letter and the first line a little bit differently. And I don't know if you drop that or something. Colorblind people right now are going, I don't see anything. It doesn't look different. Sorry, shouldn't joke. I can make this. What's another color other than red? Red and blue. And blue and green, does that? A little tangent. So, I really enjoy doing this. Just like looking in the docs and seeing what can I figure out from the docs. So we were looking at background color, which was right here. And we got off on first letter and first line right there. So, background color, first letter. I guess we could even do that. And for blue, let's give it a little turquoise. So the background color. So it's good to look at that and just see, all right, applies to all elements. Inherited, no. Visual, computed value. If the value is translucent, the computed value will be RGBA, corresponding one. If it isn't, it will be RGB, corresponding one. The transparent keyword maps to RGBA 000. 0. We talked a little bit about colors the other day, and I got those wrong. So zeros were black and 255s were all the colors in white, I believe. So then we have some examples, background color red or hexadecimal values here for the colors, or RGB, or hue, saturation, lightness, alpha. I believe that's what that stands for. Anybody confirm that? Steel. There's a HSLA steel. Yeah, hue, saturation, lightness, alpha. Make sure I had it right. So values, it takes a color. CSS color describes uniform color of the background, even if one or several background image are defined. This color can affect the rendering by transparency if the images aren't opaque. So, if CSS transparent is in CSS transparent is a color. So formal syntax, just ignore that most of the time. And then some examples. So example 1, example 2, example 3, background color, background color, background color, example 1, 2, and 3. So note the difference between color and background color. What does color apply to? Yeah, and I almost think it should be like font-color or something, but it's not. It's just color, that's the font. All right, so there's the result of those three things, background color. I don't promise that this will get more interesting, but hopefully it will. And so just some examples. H1 hello with the styles. So background color red, that's it, right? And the rest of the stuff is just styling. Whoa. But you know, like something bold like that, like that's kind of good design. Red, white, hello. Like that's going to make you go like, all right, I'm interested. So I'll scroll, you know, I'll scroll, see what's on the bottom. And red and white, I don't know, I think there's a reason when you look around all the fast food restaurants, these are colors they use, red, white, and yellow.
It says, I saw some study, they said one color is aggressive, and the other one is, it makes you want to hurry up and leave. I forget which one it was, but I think one makes you feel very warm and like I want to come in, sit down, have something to eat. And I think it's like McDonald's, the yellow is get in, get out, depending on, you know, what the location.
Yeah, they've studied all that. All right, so that's that one. And then we have just background red, showing you the same thing. And I don't have background dash color. I just have background. How come that works? Why does that work? Because we were just reading, the background is the shorthand for setting individual background values. So we could set the individual background value, background color, or we could use the shorthand. So just like with the Flexbox stuff, we saw CSS Tricks Flexbox. We saw that there's Flex Direction and Flex Wrap, and then there's Flex Flow, which is shorthand for Flex Direction and Flex Wrap, right? So different ways. And people, when you read about what's the best practice, pretty much what you read is always use the shorthand. But I'm an advocate against that. If you're learning, or if you want to put more clarity in your code, like with Flexbox we saw on Tuesday, well, you know what? That's just flex, but it's zero auto. Well, which one is that? Let's do flex grow, flex shrink, flex spaces. And that's just going to make it more clear what we're really setting there. And then eventually, if we become such wizards that we understand it thoroughly, then you drop the long way of writing it. Does that make sense? All right, so now then we have background image. So let's go look at the image documentation. And I think this is just a useful exercise to just read documentation. And So background image sets one or several background images. And then there's some stuff here which gets a little confusing. Images are drawn on stacking context layers on top of each other. The first layer specified is drawn as if it is closest to the user. I don't quite know what that means. The borders of the element are then drawn, blah, blah, blah. If a specified image cannot be drawn, even if images are opaque and the color won't be displayed in normal circumstances, web developers should always specify a background color. If the images cannot be loaded, the background color will be used as a fallback. Initial value is none, applies to all elements, also applies to first letter and first line. Inherited is no. It's a visual media. It's computed values as specified, both URIs made absolute. So there's URLs and URIs. And there's a subtle difference between the two, but mostly you could just think I could use them interchangeably. URL is Uniform Resource Locator. URI is a Uniform Resource. What is it? Identifier? I think so. But anyhow, you could Google URI versus URL. And what's the difference between URI and URL? I'm just looking for Uniform Resource Locator, Uniform. I just want to know what URI is, first of all. URI Wiki. Uniform Resource Identifier. And this might be the best place to look. The most common form of URI is the URL. Relationship between URI, URL, and URN. So URI is both URL and URN. URN is Uniform Resource Name. And URL has all that. And what's a URI? String of characters used to identify a resource. That's what a URI is. And then the URL is the address, and the URN is the name. Todd lives at 1212 Harvard. So Coke lives at example.coke.com. Anyhow, so sometimes you see URI. Cool. Where did we see that? Are we on the right one? Background image. I don't know where we saw URI. Maybe I thought that was an I and it's an L. So background image none, URL, and specify the URL of the image. Examples, background image, just a path to an image. Background image none, background image a couple of them. Cat Sanders, background color, what's Cat Sanders look like? What did that get applied to? Class Cat Sanders, here are more cats for you. Look at them. Can't read that. Here are more cats for you. Look at them. So we can play with that. So those two look pretty much the same. the div has a background image. There's the URL. So if we get rid of this cat and stars, so div's got a background image. And that's what that's showing. There's that div with the background image. And if we put that back on and take this off, there's stars. So cat and stars, that has a background image. Stars transparent, cat front. That loaded first. I don't know where that, let's take this out and just do that one and see what happens. So there's a cat. So that's illustrating the stacking order. There's a cat. And then we could put in front of that, right, on top of it, stars. So we just put stars on top of the cat. It's like a really bad example. Until you start to play with it. When you just look at it, you're like, I can't even read the text, right? So that one was stars went on top. This one went behind it. So just the ones in line go behind. The one at front goes on top. And then this one is the whole background. And the div contains those. So these are on top, I guess. How would we think about that? Like, first of all, let's play with this. Just move that order. Whoops. Move that order down here. Does that change anything? No. Right? So I guess it's the background div container, and then it has these things on top of it. So background color. What did I just say? Background image. That's it. Background image. And then I was like, okay, well, what is background? What was the next one I looked at? How many people are getting something out of this? Cool. Now, and then I said, okay, there's the repeat one. So I have this image right there, dog. And I just nothing on the HTML. And for the CSS, that's the CSS. Background image, specify the URL, and then repeat why. Because we like you. M-I-C-K-E-Y. Why? Because we like you. So repeat why. If I didn't have this here, repeats the whole deal. I could have also had repeat repeat. I think that's the default. And if I look at, we're looking at background repeat. So background repeat, background repeat.
The image, was it in the folder with everything else? It says URL and then it gives like a first name, but it was just tucked in the folder with the whole project?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right in the same directory. It's right there.
And so you don't have to necessarily put image over on the HTML?
No, the image is just 0, 1. And in the previous example we were looking at from the documentation, we had the specifier, whatever, URL, and then a path. On this one, we have URL and just the file name. So I guess it'll figure it out, right? This is an absolute path. Absolutely go to that location. This would be an absolute path from the root of my server. And so the root of my server probably is 02. So that should still serve. We'll see. It's giving me an error. No, it doesn't. Maybe it's would be O. Maybe it serves from the project 065 background / 02 background image / 02 repeat / /o1.png. Didn't like that either. Oh, I just started Firefox. I don't like Firefox. But this is just like, I don't know, from the same folder as this file.
Thank you.
The reason I couldn't figure out that path is I don't know where WebStorm server roots itself. So we have repeat, and then we also have repeat Y. Left side. And we have repeat X, X-axis. And no repeat. One dog. That's in the background. I'll leave it on repeat Y. And then we have a size. So that's basically repeat. And then the next one is like we did background color, background image. We did background repeat. Now we're going to look at background size. Specifies as the size of the background image. It can be constrained or only partially in order to preserve intrinsic ratio. Just good to always scan that stuff a little bit. So some of the keywords: cover, contain, %, pixel, auto. When we have two value syntax, width of the image, height of the image. When we multiple backgrounds values by background image. Don't confuse this with background size, auto. Oh, if you have multiple images, you could separate background size by comma. And then length, percentage, auto. And so then we have contain and cover. And I think scales image as large as possible and maintains image aspect ratio. Scales image as large as possible and maintains image aspect ratio. Image is automatically centered unless overwritten. I think they have a typo there. Image doesn't get squished. Image doesn't get squished. The image covers the entire width or height of the container. Entire width or height of the container. When the image and container have different dimensions, image is clipped either left, right, or top, bottom. When the image and container have different dimensions, the image is letterboxed within a container. Maybe that's the important thing there. We'll see this in action. So, and maybe come back and read those. So here's size. We're looking at background size. Same dog. And just an empty HTML page. And on the body, I'm saying background image, that dog, don't repeat it. And the background size is 600 pixels. That's a 600 pixel dog. I just made the dog bigger. If I wanted to, I could repeat that, obviously. Who wants me to go vertical? Who wants horizontal? Ooh. And then same empty page. And this time background size 30%. Not repeating. So just did a percentage for a different size. And then here, close all these. Background size 30% auto. So when we have two values are width, height. Okay? So I'm going to skew this. I don't know what auto does, but we'll find out. Maybe it maintains it. That's fine, right? And if I did 60%, now it'll be skewed. That's really skewed. It's just up there at the top. Let's do 300 pixels and 600 pixels. Screwed the little dog. I skewed him. And then here we have contain. Same page. And just contain it. On the body. Nothing. If we zoom way in. That's a small dog. So that was just background size contain. But that's because the body really doesn't have a size, I guess. And so it's contained in nothing. And so here I put a div in. I gave the div some size, 400, 400, and I said contain, don't repeat. I threw a border around the div. That's contained. Notice there's a little bit extra space there. We could play with those spaces. 400, 400. Like what if I made my width 700? Different. Contained it vertically, right? Before it was like that. 400, 400. Contained it horizontally. What about if I make my width 200? Contained stayed within that container, right? Contained stayed within that container. Staying in the container. Whatever, whenever it hits the edge of the container, growing either, grows, its aspect ratio, its width to its height stays proportional. It grows. When it hits a boundary, it stops. So here it's hitting a boundary vertically, hit the top and the bottom of the container, so it stopped. And I have extra space out here. All right, extra space out there. Or when this is 100, my width is 100, right? It's contained within that. Hit the width horizontally, and then just stop growing. I'm contained in this container. What's the difference between that and cover? I'm going to cover this whole area, but you're only going to see my butt. Right? Like that whole image covered all that, and it maintained its aspect ratio, but you only see part of the image. So cover, we could grow that a little bit. Versus contain. What are you going to see when I do this to contain? Where's the dog going to be?
Inside the box.
Inside the box. It's going to be contained inside the box. It's going to be on the right or the left? It's going to be on the left. And it's going to be contained vertically because it'll fill up vertically before it fills up horizontally. Contained. Right? So I think, yeah, we're talking about contain here, so I'll leave that. And then here are the cover examples, but we just kind of did cover. Just a regular page, cover this whole page, cover the body, what happens? Cover the body, pixelization going on, but so if you just have something you want covered. Now if I add content to this page, Interesting to see how it deals with that. Right? Grew even more to continue covering the body. So 400, 400, we saw something like this. So when I bring up this code, just a div, 400, 400, and its cover, what are we going to see? We're going to have a box, 400 by 400. The dog is set to cover, the background cover. Is it all going to fit within the box? How many people say yes? How many people say only part of it will probably be fitting in the box? I don't know either, actually. It depended upon the dimensions of the dog. So if that dog was, the dog's not completely square, right? You see that? It's 200 by 156. So if we had 200, 400 by 156, 156 is 2, 3, 12. Now it'll perfectly fit within the box. But when we were back at 200 or 400, no. And if we did contain, it would contain it in the box. Covers the box. So, you know, that stuff makes sense. Like, for me, there's always like oh, it's exactly what the word is saying. But before, I was totally mystified by it. Contain, cover, what's the difference? Well, it's contained in the box, or it covers the box. But it's like I have to actually see it run before I'm like, oh, contain means contain it in the box. And cover means cover the box. And just a div. And cover, I don't know how this one's different than the previous example. Maybe I was going to build something I never got around to build. Oh, I made the box crazy big. Is that my styles for this one? Oh, it's 4,000. I wasn't even reading that, right? So there's the big cover. It's covering the whole box. I'm going to make that like 2,500 so I could see 2350. I can see there's a bunch of numbers in there. So that's size. Look at all these tabs I have open. Now size. And we just kind of learned cover and contain. And I'm not going to read that stuff because it'll just confuse us. And so we've looked at background image. We've looked at background size. We just saw that. We've looked at background repeat. Background image, background size, background repeat, and background color. So we got that one, this one. We need origin, position, attachment. What do you feel like doing? You want to play with origin or position? Position sounds pretty straightforward. Let's look at position. Sets the initial position relative to the background position layer defined by the background origin for each defined background image. If the value of this property is not set in a background shorthand property that is applied to the element after the background position CSS property, the value of this property is then reset to its initial value. Initial value is 0% is 0%. Also applies first letter and first line. Top, bottom, left, right, center. I like that. Background position 2575. Position 1 to 4 values representing a 2D position. So we could actually do 4 values. That stands out to me, so I'll highlight it. I like highlighting things like a graffiti artist, and I could tell if I've been there before. Oh, I've been here. Using CSS background on multiple images. I don't know if we need that. Div 1, 2, 3. Div 1, background, 2, background, 3, background with 2 images, and background position 0, 0, center. So 0, 0 on the first one, center on the second one. So here is where is my background position being set on these? Oh, it's just the shorthand background. And then, so see how confusing this background is? You're setting the image, you're setting the color, and then I bet right here, bottom, no repeat. Those are the 2 values for background position. And then this is the one for background repeat. All right, so we've got bottom, 2.5 centimeters, 3M, 50%. So here's bottom, 2.5 centimeters. Top, bottom, left, right, from the left. Here's the other one. Here's the other one. So we could position stuff in different places. Anybody want to see that? Straight page, straight image, just the dog, and take off the background. What I get for it to not repeat? Background repeat, no repeat, and then background position, center. My dog's been decapitated. That was unexpected. But I think that's because the body really doesn't have anything in it, right? So it's at 0 right now. It's not holding anything. Like if we put a bunch of hellos in here. Okay, now I'm giving it some. Now it's in the center of all of that, right? Take some of those out. Whoops, I just killed my tags. So another way we could see that same thing be if we had a div. And then here, change that, and we have a width, height, border, boy, that didn't look any different than, that's ridged. Doesn't look any different than grooved. So we did center. We could have also done some of these other settings. Top, bottom, left, right, center. 25%, 75%. Length, 0, 0. For multiple images. I think we should try one of those, like 75, 25 or 0, 0. So background position. Let's start with the pixels. So we can figure out which is width and which is height. All right, so this is 10, 300. So which is my left right and which is my up down? 10 pixels has moved me up down or left right? Which should I move 10 pixels?
Horizontal,
Huh?
left, right.
Yeah, horizontal. And then the 300. So it looks like it moves it 10 from the left, 300 from the top. We can reverse that. 300, 10, and just ignore this. So that one is 310, 300 from the left. You probably want to see that. That'll help you. That's 310. Kind of cool. We're going to own background. That's how you own it, man. You're just like, okay, let's break it apart. So that's background position. What the heck's background origin? Determines the background positioning area, that is the position of the origin of an image specified using background image. All right, whatever. Border box, padding box, content box. Background extends to the outside edge of the border. Padding box, background is drawn below the border. Background is painted within clip to the, okay. Box sizing, border box. Kind of similar idea here. So we'll take 05. An origin, and then 01, and then right click, new file, HTML file, index, and then right click, new file, style sheet, main, CSS, and then here link, main, and then close all because I got other stuff open. And I need to get my dog. And div. This is background origin. So I want a div, border, 1 pix, solid, 1 pix, 50 pixels, solid, RGBA, which is black, which is white, which is that. I don't know if I could do that. I need a width and a height. All right, that worked. So I have a transparent background so we could see through it. So I'm going to add my image in. What's the property for a background image? Background image. And then what I put in here? And then background cover. What's the cover one? Background. What's the property for me to set cover? Background color, image, origin, position, background, repeat, background size. Do repeat, no repeat, and no equals no repeat. and background size is equal to contain cover. What should we do? Contain? Let's contain it. There's a dog. Then we have background origin. We have content box, padding box. Let's just go with border box. Ooh. All right. You really want to like get like what is being contained. So that was background origin border box. And border box, background extends to the outside of the border. Pretty much what it says. Padding box, no background is drawn below the border. Background extends to the outside edge of the padding. But check this out. And you'd really see this if I had some lorem in here. You can see there's padding, right? Take that padding out.
Okay, Tom, do you know if the text will set over the image?
Yeah, the image is in the background. And you can prove that I think we just created a brand. Actually looks kind of nice. Hold on, I'll be back. I didn't plan that. But that's where, like, using translucency with RGBA, and that's 0.5, like, look at this, it's not going to look as good. Right? It doesn't look, it still looks okay, but the translucency is letting that other color show through, just darkening it a little bit, you know? So that was a padding box, and then we have content box. Background's painted within the content box, and so that's just going to be, you know, right where the content is. So
What about opacity?
opacity?
Yes.
What about opacity?
What if you change, I don't know, I read somewhere opacity, so I thought you can change the opacity too. If you,
Opacity of what?
this, oh, never mind.
Okay. We did change the opacity right here. That's what the RGBA, when you use RGBA for color values, you use, this is the R part, the red, this is the green, this is the blue, and this is the alpha, which means transparency, something between 0 and 1. And so that sets, you know, fully opaque would be 1, I believe. So that border's going to go straight black, and completely transparent would be 0, right? You can barely see it now. If I went to 0, nothing. And red, green, blue, I messed this up when I set it to you the other day. I said that I got them flipped, but 0, 0, 0 is black, as we can see. And that means, like, I guess no colors. And when you combine all the colors together, 255, 255, it becomes white. And I guess when you combine all the light together, it becomes white light. White light has all the colors in. But then you take white light and send it through like a crystal, you know, man. You like send the light through a crystal. And it's just like the cover of that Pink Floyd album. You know, where you get all the colors are always there, man. Like it's like white light, but it's all the colors. You don't see it. This is like the reality which is everywhere, that's beautiful, that nobody sees, man. They don't see it. Did I tell you, like, it's like the government, you don't see the government. What you think you see the government, you don't see the government. I've had stoner friends. It's like, you're too high right now. You just went from white light and spirituality to conspiracy theory in the government. But so the last background stuff that we have to look at, and we are owning it, is we've seen color, image, origin, position. And origin was that content box, padding box, border box. Background position, background repeat, background size. We haven't seen attachment or clip. So we could just quickly look at attachment. Determines whether the image position is fixed within the viewport or scrolls along with its containing block. So we could fix it. Oh, that's cool, right? And so fix, local, scroll. And I don't know if they have a little example. Whatever. They got all their crazy stars. And so that's just basically like position fixed with background, it sounds like. And then clip specifies whether an element's background, either the color or image, extends underneath its border. Oh, so it isn't a video clip. It's whether it extends underneath its border. I don't know how you stick a video clip in a background. I haven't figured that out yet. Whether it extends underneath its border. So that's kind of similar to the border box origin thing. And so when you have and here you could see no clip and clip. When you have background figured out, those guys could all go away. Here's this one website, you know, that has some nice background. You know, cool. Background's being used. All right. How many people got their money's worth? Awesome. Last thing I'm going to leave you with is HTML newsletter. Boy, that's just going to bring up everything in the world, isn't it? So I need to do this because Hangouts Connect. I trashed it just recently. Just a minute. And so let me turn off this video. I'll pause it. All right, so the thing I wanted to show you about was HTML5 Weekly. And HTML5 Weekly is a really cool newsletter. And all these tabs that you see opened are articles that I thought I need to check those out. And every week you get an email saying, here's some stuff about HTML. You're into HTML? Here's some of the content that's been out on the web this week, which looks kind of good to read. And so I just pop those open and cruise through them and read them. So it's a good thing to sign up for, html5weekly.com.